Okay, so we're calling the meeting to order at 5:25. Knowing that we don't have a quorum, we're just going to talk about things that don't require decisions at this point. So we will start with the setting budget parameters.
And the budget.
And the budget overview. Yep.
So last year, you may recall, the RNESU increase was under 0.5%. We basically level funded the budget. 4 years out of merger, we have now exhausted our efficiencies. We've right-sized a number of different areas in RNESU. And so now we're, hi Becky. So now we are in our, now we're in, we have to maintain and go forward. Just a reminder that central office exists really for the purpose of supporting the ends identified by the sending school districts. We do not exist on our own. Everything that the central office does, if it's not done by central office, it would have to be done by the individual schools. So it's not like you can stop doing business office functions, or you could stop doing transportation, but that would be a major policy change. You can't stop doing curriculum, you know, so, and special ed is mandated, and even technology now is mandated. So I always like to point that out at the beginning of the budget discussion, because I know that there's often a misunderstanding that central office is getting so big, but we aren't, as I'll show you in a few minutes, and we don't actually exist for any reason other than to support what's happening in the schools and meet our compliance needs. I would like to introduce you to Kristen Hubert, our new Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. Maybe you could just let Kristen know who you are.
Sure. I'm Becky Bertrand from Whiting, and I'm also on the OBUB board.
And an OB parent.
Yep, and an OB parent.
Charlene is our regular cook.
Yes, I'm the recording secretary for both the RNESU and Otter Valley boards.
And I'm Brenda Hummel from Chittenden, and also on the Barstow board.
I'm Lori Bertrand, and I am also on the Otter Valley board.
You know. So as I said, Brenda is arriving with a copy of this PowerPoint. She chose not to print it out, but bringing in hard copies. But just a reminder that when we are developing our budget, our drivers really are the RNESU ends policy, the RNESU goals, which is how we choose to meet ends, equity of opportunity for student achievement, and efficiencies in delivery for cost efficiency as well. So those are the things those are kind of the parameters that this team works within. In the PowerPoint, I share your ends policy based on last week's joint boards ends retreat. I think you're going to revisit this, but basically your ends policy pulls together what the ends policies are of the other two districts. So RNESU exists in your current policy so that students of Brandon, Chittenden, Goshen, Leicester, Mendon, Pittsford, Sudbury, and Whiting are empowered with the knowledge, skills, and attributes needed to prepare them for the next stage of their lives as successful and contributing members of a global society. Our efforts will be guided by the principles of the Rutland Northeast Supervisory Union Compact and provided at a reasonable cost. And what I was saying before everyone was here is I'm not sure that that's accurate as given what we do. I think you might want to revisit that and say RNESU exists to support the infrastructure and the ends identified by your sending school districts, but that is currently our policy. Our goals continue to be in the SU to provide systematic academic and emotional interventions and supports for improved student achievement, to continually improve instructional practices to meet the needs of all students. And literacy will be taught across the curriculum pre-K to 12 with the foundation of all students reading on grade level by the end of grade 2. So we tweaked the wording in that last one, but we're still focused. No, that wasn't a one-time goal. It's in the PowerPoint. Sorry.
Okay.
It wasn't a one-time goal. It wasn't a one-year goal. It's these are multi-year goals because we're really working, re-steering our system towards these goals. So, yes. So now, we'll let you catch up to where I am.
They're hot off their presses.
So the RNESU budget
They're
includes
on fire.
includes special education, transportation, and administrative infrastructure support of curriculum, technology, superintendent, board, business office, and centralized elementary facility management. And in there, I'm on slide 6, we give you an organizational chart of the central office, just so you can see kind of overall what we do. As I said, the efficiencies have already been achieved. There is no duplication of services anywhere, and we exist to support the schools. Everything that's on this chart has to be done somewhere in the district. Unless you choose not to do transportation, in which case that's not true about transportation. I also want to point out that the RNESU budget that we bring to you does not include our federal and pass-through funds, but they do underwrite the work we do in the district, so we wanted to bring that to your attention. Currently in Title I, we spend nearly $1 million. I note that our standard allocation, though, is only $740,000. We've had carryover. Title II, we're currently spending $290,000 with a standard allocation of only $195,000. In Title IV, we're spending $172,000 with a standard allocation of only $120,000. We also claim medical administration claims and school-based Medicaid services funds, which are federal funds that come to us for prevention intervention services based upon work we do in counseling and special education. And the two amounts are on the slide, $17,500 or $303,863. I'm really sorry, Charlene. Don't try to capture every detail, just.
Okay.
And then we do have some purchase services pass through, like itinerant teachers that might be serving 2 different districts. We put them in our budget and then bill them out to the 2 districts using them. That's how we cross the river, as we like to say, because we have 2 different districts and 3 different employers. So when there's multiple employers, we just route them through RNESU. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yay, so far so good. So our proposed budget, she's way ahead, is
I'm a fast reader.
$728,809 increase for next year, which is a 7.8% increase. Again, I know I started out by reminding you that we started at less than a 0.5% increase for this year. But again, we have right-sized, we have met all those efficiencies, and I'm going to break down this 7.8% for you, which, by the way, this morning was a whole percent higher. So we have done some trimming even to get here.
Hence the heat on the paper.
Yeah, that's why the paper was still writing. So the next slide is the 3-year history and FY21 proposed expenditures by function. And you can see that this slide shows our trends, and you can see that clearly our investment of money is in direct student instruction and student support. The things that we're doing in general administration, school administration, fiscal services, facilities, even transportation are a whole lot less. Many of those are fairly flat. But, and even the third column, instructional staff support, that's our professional development so that our teachers have the skills and resources they need to do what they're doing. And I can share this actual PowerPoint with you if you'd like.
Yes.
So we are trending, we believe that that is aligned with the ENDS policy. The majority of our funds are focused on student support. Where are the changes? The instructional staff support is technology and curriculum. I just wanted to point that out. General administration means the superintendent and board line. Transportation is up largely due to rising fuel costs and maintenance costs, as well as cost of living increases, which I'll talk about in a minute. And the increases in direct instruction and student support on this particular chart, it's over 3.5%. And that area is due to we are a staff business. We aren't widgets, we are staff. And so it's primarily salary and benefits, as you'll see shortly. The next slide is the 3-year history and fiscal year 21 proposed expenditures by objects. Again, you're primarily seeing an increase in salaries and benefits. We're not able to hire staff in this strong economy. We have had a discussion in executive session about how far the board might be willing to go in negotiations. We used that assumption in developing this. Benefits is still in the state level commission, that information. We know that the gold CDHP plan is going to have a 12.9% increase, so we use that 12.9% increase as we were developing the benefits piece. We also anticipate that at least the first 6 months of the year, insurance doesn't change at all, and the second 6 months is dependent on the state arbitration that's underway. So we stayed pretty much fairly funded, levelly funded with that 12.9% increase. Level program with that 12.9% increase. Then the next slide is where are the budget changes by objects. Again, you see the salaries and benefits. Salaries are just under 3% increase. Benefits are over 2% combined. They are about 5.5% increase of that 7.6%. So the majority of this is salaries and benefits. In transportation in particular, you'll see a negative for the buses line. That's because we currently have 6, we're still paying off but leases on 6 buses. 6 leases are coming to an end this year. But we're picking up 3 new ones according to our plan. So that means you're down 3 leases, and that's why you see a negative in the buses line. But you obviously see a major increase in repairs and maintenance. Not major, it's under 1%, but repairs and maintenance. So let me go into a little bit more detail. First, I want to show you a couple pie charts. Again, another way of saying on the left pie chart, our monies are going towards the direct instruction, student support, and instructional support. Only 14% actually goes to central office functions outside of direct student services and support. On the right-hand chart, you'll see that 70% of our budget is personnel-related, salaries and benefits. 79%, thank you. 79% of our budget is personnel-related. The biggest investment is in the units to deliver the services to kids. So what does that mean? Oh, we also wanted to give you, this is our 2nd year of having a centralized technology department. And just a quick update on that. It continues to be very effective. And I need to give Alexis a great deal of credit. Her knowledge and systems thinking is a tremendous asset to the district. So she, along with Stephen Eaton, developed and deployed the access card system. We now have access cards in all of our buildings except our building and Caverly. Caverly only has 1 door, so we're not investing in an access card there. There's only 1 door. But every other building now has it. It's up and running. She has repositioned her staffing and right-sized to eliminate previous position. She's aligned our critical data systems to support our reporting and standards as the state has come in with some new requirements there. Increased technology training to key administrative staff, and then also provides a great deal of professional development to support and maintain the required skill sets. And all of this has significantly improved. I don't know how many of you you've been an Otter Valley parent for a while. Otter Valley in particular was hurting prior to Alexis coming on board, and it's significantly improved. All right, so let's get down to the meat of the budget. So the total budget increase is $728,809, or 7.8%. The salaries and benefits account for, is it still 5.91% of the total budget increase? Might be slightly less than that, but just under 6. That is the biggest part of the 7.8%. In special services, we are not proposing any changes. We did adjust for out-of-district tuition placement costs based on our currently known placements plus a 5% anticipated tuition increase. Transportation, we're replacing 3 buses to follow our 10-year replacement cycle, but we're decreasing 6 bus leases. So the main reason for a transportation increase at all is the vehicle maintenance to reflect the actual average costs of $6,200 per bus, which is a total increase of $58,000, and the fuel budget because gas prices have gone up.
I have a question about that, or do you want to finish first?
No, let's go ahead and pause.
All right, so it's mainly about transportation.
Okay.
So while buses are on lease, is all maintenance covered, or we're still responsible for all maintenance? So there's no maintenance contract or anything like
That's
that?
a good question. So most people think of a lease, they think of a lease in personal terms. These are capital leases.
Okay.
So we are basically leasing to own.
Mm-hmm.
So no, we are responsible. They have standard warranties that come with the purchase of a new bus, but after those warranties are over, they are ours. So
Okay.
there's no maintenance requirements associated with the lease. There's no maintenance provided through the lease either.
Okay, and buying a new bus, it doesn't come with a 1 year,
They do.
Okay.
They come with, various, just like a car, various different components will have different warranties on them.
okay,
They do come with warranties, but buses have 4 inspections a year, so they're always gonna cost 4 inspections. Obviously, oil and transmission and all of those things are
Sure.
not part of warranty. So the first few years, we don't see the bigger expenses that are associated with it, but we still need, brakes and tires, and we put on over 1 million miles a year. We do a fair amount of travel. So,
Okay.
in today's meeting, I don't know how many buses he needed tires for. Did he tell you 6, 12? I don't know. It was a little
Yeah.
number. We pay a lot
Right.
of attention to it, but.
so we have a 10-year turnaround. After 10 years, we expect that we're buying new buses. That's kind of the way we,
Yes.
right?
Replace after 10 years.
Replace after 10 years. So is that the cost effective point? I mean, is that where?
Well, that's a good question as well. It's like I bought it.
Sorry, I know.
Okay. So, quite a few years ago, 10 to be exact, we said, if buses are lasting 10 years, maybe we can modernize our fleet a little bit faster by buying more of them and financing them longer, so we can kind of stretch our dollars. We will never do that again.
Okay,
Because what we found is we were putting in the cost, honestly, of an annual lease payment towards the end of their last few years on lease. So
Okay.
we were really, much like we were upside down in the mortgage, if you will. And so we're not doing that again. So we lease for 7 years.
Okay.
Which is a pretty standard for deduction of a vehicle, is 7 years. So we kind of match our lease to what's allowed for a IRS deduction of the vehicle. But we turn over 3 vehicles every year. So
Okay.
as they come off, 3 more come on. This is the year, when we did the 10-year cycle, it was
Mhm.
10 years ago, we bought 4 buses, 4 of those come off,
okay,
plus 2 others.
sure. Okay, thanks.
District-wide curriculum and technology, we did increase the CIA director by 10% when we hired Kristen, otherwise there's no budget or program changes. That already happened effective this year, and so now we have to true up the budget to it. Technology, again, we reclassified funds from a part-time position to fund college student interns. We maintained equipment budget, increased software costs by the industry standard average of 10%. Board, this is where you're supposed to make some board decisions. Board
I had a line there.
I know. Board costs include board resources of training, negotiations, legal services, and policy, honorariums. I'm not recommending changes, but let me tell you what you've spent and what you might consider. So we left the $28,000 in negotiations. We left $2,500 in legal services. Honorariums, we level funded at $3,700. That could change on the floor at annual meeting. And you had $5,000 in there for board professional development. You have spent $4,800 this year. You might want to bump that up, but I think your district boards will probably pick up more of that cost than you will. I think you can probably leave it as is. So I'm not recommending changes, but this is when, or before you finalize the budget, this is an area that you might want to consider changing. Superintendent's office, no proposed staffing changes.
Can I just interrupt for a minute?
Yeah.
I think maybe later on the agenda, or maybe you already have, under policy governance, you do want to specifically state what this number should be.
It is on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to pause and do that. Do they have to do that?
Yeah.
Business office, no program or staffing changes. We do want to let you know that we are changing accounting softwares as mandated by the state. We're in the group that changes over in January. And the fact that Brenda is here while making that happen and doing budget work is very commendable as well. And I'm not going to go up against her on anything. Just FYI, on purchase services or the pass-through costs, this is based on our current itinerant staff. I just want you to know who you are employing, and that these are costs that are not borne by you, they're borne by the employing districts. So the facility management includes 1.0 facility manager, and we shifted a year-round floating maintenance substitute, reducing the summer custodial budget. Both positions are funded 33% each, Barstow, Lothrop, and Neshabie. So it's not your budget, but you're the employer. Itinerant pre-K teacher, there are two. Again, we're budgeting, we have 60% program at Barstow, Caverly, and Whiting, and then they also have time for their administrative work that needs to be done. Again, not paid for by you. You are employing the librarian and nurse who is serving both Lothrop. A librarian is Barstow and Otter Creek Academy, I'm sorry. Nurse is Lothrop and Otter Creek Academy. And again, paid for by those schools, you're just the employer. And then transportation services that go beyond the to and from school, you pay for to and from school. But the purchase services are Stafford vocational runs, after school late runs, both of those are Otter Valley, and homeless child transportation, which we try to use, when we can, we try to use federal funds for. Assessment information is not available until mid-December. In fact, last year it was not until May. But, so this is early information, so it's way too early to determine a tax rate, which really you don't determine anyway. This gets assessed to your two sending districts, and they determine their tax rates. Just for your information, 1% on the total budget for RNESU is 88,000, 1% on the assessment is 58,000.
Okay.
Questions?
Actually, I'm going to say, because it is 5:45 and because we have to talk about our preschool voucher, that we need to table this until December so that we can.
And you might want to think about having your December meeting not butt up
Right.
to
Yeah.
Otter Valley. Maybe if you have time at the end, you could do that. I think we said that's probably the one meeting a year that
We need
you might
to.
need a little bit more time.
Right. Okay. So is everybody amenable to that? Okay.
So you'll also wait till December for the numbers to put in
Yep.
for budget parameters? Okay.
Yep, I think so. We've got time.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna go back up to the top.
And so you
Of our
guys don't
agenda?
have to stick around.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we're done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You guys do.
Oh, all right. So at this time, we're going to look at the pre-K voucher appeal. Oh, yeah, we should probably do that. So can I get an approval of the agenda?
I move we approve the agenda.
Okay, all those in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstaining? Okay, we have an agenda. Thanks for that, Charlene. So, I knew we kept you around for some reason.
Thanks.
So at this time, we'll do the pre-K voucher appeal. You
Want some
had,
updated
yes,
numbers?
please.
So I had given you some information, and as of today, we have room for 4-year-old Neshabie, Whiting, and Barstow. Our 3-year-old programs, for your information, are all full. Whiting does not have any childcare slots left as of today, actually as of last week.
Okay. And we don't know about Rutland County Parent-Child Center.
I don't know about Rutland County Parent-Child Center. They did not get back to me to give me that information.
Okay. Okay. So, at this time, I also wanted to go over why we have a district, or why we have, what's the word I'm looking for?
Boundaries.
A boundary, thank you. So that information was sent out in your packet, that we set that up in 2014. It ran out in June of 2019. We reapplied, we were approved. I also want to make a point that our district was one of the first ones to come out with a preschool that didn't require payment for the 10 hours of preschool. We were ahead of the curve on that for many years under Bill Mathis, and we've been able to maintain that. So we have denied this once before. However, Morelli has asked us to reconsider. He did write us a letter, if everybody should have that in their packet as well. Do you have any other additional information you would like to provide at this time? No, okay. So at this time, I'd like to ask your pleasure as to what you're thinking, how you're thinking, and what we'd like to do. Or I can give you my opinion.
Go ahead.
Okay. So my opinion is, although I understand your situation, all of the other preschool vouchers requests that we had been asked for was, and I don't mean this negatively at all, were based upon convenience. It wasn't that they needed special ed or special circumstances. It was mainly about convenience of services for them to get. So, and if we say no, or if we say, okay, we'll give you the preschool voucher this time, then essentially what we've done is we've said we don't really have boundaries anymore. For me, and having gone through this many years ago with my own kids in preschool and knowing that it is difficult to get kids to and from preschool, although we managed because we knew how important it was, at this time, because we have openings in the 4-year-old preschool program in 3 different schools, I am going to say that I think we continue to deny this because it is, again, based on convenience and not necessarily for any other reason.
May I speak?
Sure.
By convenience, I mean impossibility. Unless one of us didn't want to work in order to bring our kids to preschool here rather than someplace else. Also, on the initial denial, part of the reason that I was given was that there were openings and that there were, part of our initial issue was we also have a 20-month-old, a 21-month-old. And so it was stated that there was room in the daycares for our son Luca, but there isn't room for the 21-month-old, which adds another element of impossibility for us. So I don't feel it's reasonable to say that it's convenience. It's not a logistical possibility. And when I think about what is the purpose of this money from the state, it's for all kids to have access to preschool equally, regardless of the constraints of their family and such an impossibility. So I understand it sets a precedent, but I don't understand the inflexibility of this and the purpose is to provide preschool for all children.
Vicky.
I have thoughts. I don't want to open a can of worms. The part that I struggle with, honestly, is that we have the boundaries and want our families to stay in, and we accept people from other counties. So that's the part that feels sticky to me, that we let other people come in, but we don't let people go out. So I feel like if we're not going to let people go out, maybe we shouldn't let people come in. Does that make sense? That's the part that kind of bugs me a little bit, that eats at me.
Okay.
But those people that are coming in, some of them are paying the tuition
They all do.
themselves, and some of them their district.
No, they get.
I think currently
The
their
pass-through.
districts pay the subsidy.
Mhm.
I think what Mr. Morelli is pointing out is that many of the surrounding districts to us do not have that. And so you get subsidies. And I don't have that same issue. Whether or not the board chooses to have a boundary is totally up to you. But if there are openings, I guess I don't see why it's a conflict that we take tuition in. if we have openings, as long as it doesn't take away from our own residents. If you're gonna have boundaries, you can't take away spots from your own residents.
Right.
And it's correct that we do not have room for the younger.
Whiting
child.
childcare is full.
So that would.
We're not responsible for childcare, but that program is full.
But that's that's one of the logistical challenges, if I'm understanding, is that correct? I just wanted to clarify.
At one point, I had my kids were in different preschool or in different daycares.
To reconsider, you would have to have a motion on the table to do so.
True.
But if we don't have
If
a
there's no motion, then it dies.
Yeah. I think it's a very hard decision, and understand the human side of it. I feel comfortable with our first decision. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel. I wish that we had the means to give every child everything that he needed from birth on. We don't, and there's just a line. I'm kind of supporting what you said earlier. We have boundaries, that's what we decided. You know, there may be times when there is an extenuating circumstance where we would decide to make an exception. But speaking as a parent of 3 children who are now on their own, I know that in those early years, it's tough to give your younger children everything that you want to and still make a living. And I know it's hard for them at times.
So hearing no motion, I'm not going to make the motion because it should come from one of you, the 3 of you, so.
I'm also not going to make a motion, and I agree. I just want to clarify that I agree with our, I just have that's the part that rubbed me, and I just wanted to say that was the part that rubbed me.
Sure.
It probably is something that you want to discuss further if we
Yes.
come due again at the end of this year.
Yes.
Because the state asked us to do just 1 year.
Okay.
But and I understand it's hard.
It is hard,
For young
and we
families.
do understand. Having young kids ourselves.
And we do appreciate your efforts and your time to present your plea to the board.
Okay. So, at this time, then the decision that we made stands. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So, given that it's 6,
Mhm.
I think that you can table pretty much everything else unless you want to at least approve the orders.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and do
Consent agenda.
we'll do the
If you want to
cons-
take the policies off, you
consent
can,
agenda?
but the rest of the consent agenda.
we'll do the consent agenda. Yeah, so if I can get a motion on the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Are you doing full consent agenda?
Yeah.
Policies too?
Yep,
Okay.
if everybody's okay with that with policies as well.
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor of the, Barbara did.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstaining? Consent agenda passes. And so we will, sorry, I'm looking to see. Looks like we will table, the, monitoring report interpretations and we will come back to our budget overview, at our next meeting. Our next meeting is set for December 18th, which is a Wednesday. However, I'm thinking that we, probably should have a different date for that. So, The following Wednesday would be Christmas. So I'm thinking that maybe you're thinking the 11th.
Probably, let me check. I think earlier is important because.
Okay.
Don't we
your-
have an OB budget meeting that night set up?
I think you do, but I think,
The 11th.
That's
I
what
would
I do.
recommend that you
Okay.
not pair this with an OB
Yeah.
meeting. You're gonna
Okay.
need more time on budget
Sure.
stuff.
So then we need to figure out a date.
So 10th,
It's a
Tuesday the
Tuesday.
I could do the 10th.
and do it instead of the 18th?
Right, if we do it on the 10th, then we would not have our meeting on the 18th.
That works.
Excuse me.
You could make it 6.
We
if
could make it
that's easier.
6, we would have, if that makes it better for everybody.
Or 5:30.
Actually, so,
You're not there with us.
Well, what we can do is tentatively schedule for that and see what our quorum looks like, and then if that's an issue, we'll look at it from there. So we'll say
5:30?
5:30 at, since it's just us, why don't we do it at central office?
Cool. So at
on the
central
10th.
office,
On the,
5:30 on the 10th?
yes, okay, December 10th. I just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, we're out, 6:02.